Hey, I want to welcome everybody here on this wonderful Tuesday. I want to remind everybody, if you're a guest, that we welcome you to be here every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. We do a More Transaction Tuesday for what we call the Freedom Team. The Freedom Team is a group of 5 leaders that have pulled together EXP. We represent about 3,000 agents, 47 states, about 7 countries, and we're growing rapidly. One of the things we do for the agents within the Freedom Team is this on a Tuesday. Every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern, we do a More Transaction Tuesday. Today will be a little bit different than most. It is pre-recorded. You'll find out why in just a minute, and it's going to be flipping awesome. I've watched it twice already. But I want to remind everybody that we have a calendar that's been updated very regularly. You can find that if you're within the EXP world. You can find that in the Freedom Team group in Workplace. It looks like this, so everybody knows. It's right here pinned at the very top. I want to remind everybody, I think that's it, right? Everybody can see the calendar. One of the things about the calendar, don't forget the yellow one right in the middle. Next week on Wednesday, I will be interviewing Brent Gove. Brent at one point was the number 11 agent for RE/MAX worldwide, and meaning in the world. He was number 11 in volume. He also owned the largest franchise, the largest team or franchise in the United States before he came to EXP. Came to EXP about 5 or 6 years ago. Now has about 18,000 agents that are within his ripple. He came first, he kicked the domino, and 18,000 dominoes have come beyond that. So you don't want to miss next Wednesday. You can invite guests, by the way, if you're part of EXP and you want to invite some guests. Don't hesitate to do that for next Wednesday. You're more than welcome to do that this time. So the other thing I want to highlight to everybody, if you're also part of EXP, I want to highlight on Tuesdays and Thursdays, the blue lettering, we have a Freedom Team Concierge Hour. If you, anything real estate, anything agent attraction, if you're confused and you just want your hand held, if you want to know what to do next, if you can't get a hold of somebody and need someone to get a hold of, Tuesday, Thursday, 2 o'clock Eastern, 11 o'clock Pacific, we meet on the exact same link. Kim Herrera handles that session. She does a tremendous job. So I want to remind everybody to tell your team Tuesday and Thursday, 2 p.m. With that said, we are ready to get started. My name is Eric Golden. I don't normally host the Tuesday More Transaction Tuesday. That's normally held for Jeff Morrell. Jeff is doing an on-site event today with a couple of other leaders from the Freedom Team. And so what he did in last minute is record the session I'm about to provide for you. The fact that it's recorded doesn't mean it in any way denigrates the value of what we're doing. We do a live presentation every week. We want you to come back for live. There's a feeling when it's live that's a little bit different, but you're going to love what Kelley's going to talk about today, our guest. Kelley Cortner is in the, I believe, in the Colorado Springs area, if I remember correctly. She's only been in real estate for 2 years. In her first 2 years, she's done 92 transactions. And everybody's wondering, how did she?
How?
How? That's exactly. And then as soon as she's done, we're going to come back live and we're going to handle some Q&A for about 15 minutes when it's all done. So hold your questions. There will be a chat box that you're more than welcome to utilize as we're going. If you want to memorialize your questions, put them in there. I am going to ask that nobody responds to the questions during the presentation. Just watch the presentation, add questions. And again, between Sean and myself and Kim and some of the other leaders, we'll definitely handle it. So we're excited to have you all here. We're more excited to hear what Kelley has to say. Give me 1 second to set up my computer and we'll be ready to go. If there's a problem, I'm not going to be able to see the screen, but if you can't hear it, make sure that you guys let me know by texting me, because I don't know if I'll see the screen once I share my screen. Here we go. And we're going to open it up to full size, and then we're going to hit play.
Hey everybody, thanks for getting on. If you are a guest with us, by the way, we do this every Tuesday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, open to all agents, all companies, and doing a little bit different this week. We're recording this ahead of time and going to mastermind a little bit here afterwards. But anyway, giving this a shot. So Kelley Cortner, I want to introduce Kelley to everybody. Kelley is here in Colorado Springs, and that's where I'm at. and been with EXP now for a little over 2 years. Got licensed in June of 2020, right?
March 2020.
March of 2020.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's guys, here's why I want to get Kelley on. So her very first year in the business, I mean, again, March of 2020, like horrible timing, Kelley. I mean, we couldn't even show houses at that point.
I've been told I have horrible timing, but yeah.
I mean, it was, we're in the middle, we're right at the beginning of, COVID. Everything was getting shut down. Everybody was kind of, what are we doing? What's going on? I mean, no showings, no open houses. Things just kind of froze up there for a while. But your very first year in real estate, you did 42 deals. You hit the icon status here at EXP, which is a big award. It's a big thing. And not to get into that, it's about EXP. But then you did 48 deals your last 12 months, right? Mm-hmm. So your first 2 years in the business, 90 deals, which is so above and beyond what the norm is, okay? So let's talk about that a little bit, because I think there's going to be a lot of things that just nuggets that people could be writing down as you and I are just having a conversation here, but things that we could be talking about, things that people could talk about in terms of the mastermind we'll do here afterwards. But talk about what you got going. I mean, when you first got started, again, crazy time to get in the business. But, what'd you do let's talk about how'd you drum up so much business, those first few months as you got going?
Okay, well, thanks for having me, Jeff. I appreciate it. And, thanks for this recording ahead of time. Sorry, I couldn't be there in person. But what I did, so yes, March 2020, I got my license, and it is crazy. It's one of those, they have these commercials that you're bouncing the ball and then it goes slow motion. You're like, oh, you're going, and all of a sudden you slow down. And that was kind of like the beginning of COVID. I started, got my license, joined a brokerage. April 1 was the day that I was starting, and April 1 was the day that brokerage shut down its doors. I never even made it into a brokerage. It was crazy. So what do? What I did is I just leveraged the people around me, and Zoom, just like this. I love this type of office space because you can be anywhere and get from the best people that you put in your room. You can leverage everybody. So what I did is I just leveraged the people around me, and we still had meetings Mondays and Fridays. Still to this day, we're meeting Mondays and Fridays. It's accountability. It's trying to make sure you're only, I say this funny, like you're only as smart as the people around you. You're in the people, the books you read and the people around you. And those people that were around me, I didn't know anything about real estate, but I was listening to the people that have been in the business for 20 years. And I was the fly on the wall learning about the market. I just heard everyone's talking about listings. Everyone's talking about what are we going to do in this COVID atmosphere, like with the gloves and the shoe booties and open houses are gone. I'm just sitting here listening. I didn't have a deal, but I showed up. I showed up. I learned. I put stuff in place. You couldn't do a pop by. It's new stuff. I was so new. People were talking about bringing balloons to the grocery store because you can't go to their house door to door. And hey, do you want to talk about real estate? Like, I didn't do that, but it was kind of nice to hear what people were doing and they were sharing. So all I could do was learn and listen and kind of grow my business starting out that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what your first deal, what do you remember your first deal?
Yeah. So my first deal was an Op City lead, Realtor.com. It was one of those, when you're a new agent, where do you get your leads from, right? I didn't know where to get my leads from. This was like a little source that was, you have to pay a percentage like a real estate fee for a referral. And it was a rental. And I took them on rentals, and we just started having conversations like, what does buying look like to you? And it was kind of ironic. He was my first deal that was a rental. So anybody new out there, I took everything. I would sell dirt, I would sell a condo, and anything that had an opportunity to meet somebody. I saw that as an opportunity for them to talk about me later. It's not always just how did I know that rental was going to turn into my first buy, right? And it's funny, he's my biggest cheerleader, because at the end of the deal, when I didn't tell him I was new, I wasn't going to tell this guy who was buying his first home that I was a brand new agent, but I sure acted like I knew what the heck I was doing. And I always had somebody that I could ask if I had a question, right? You put people in place. So after the first deal, I recorded it and I recorded his response. I said, so how do you like my working with me? And he goes, oh, you were stellar. And I said, so what would you say if I told you this was my first deal? And he says, he goes, what? And I said, no, really, you were my first deal. And he says, wow, you were made for this. And it is kind of nice because I still, to this day, I just popped by for 4th of July, gave him a hug goodbye. He's moving. He's not selling, but I set him up with a property manager. And in 3 years, I'll see you when you get back, and I still to this day give him my numbers because he knew my numbers, and I send him stuff, and I follow up with those relationships because at the end of the day, when I met him, I didn't know that relationship, what it would be. He might know somebody buying or selling, and I want him to think of me first to be that go-to. And look, he did interview more than one property manager. And he says, by the way, because you recommended it, it was like neck and neck, but because it was your recommendation, I went with the person you recommended. So those relationships, I think, is what started. And that was in June of 2020. So after I did that, I guess you guys want to know how I got to the 42. Well, I sold that house and I just leveraged that I sold that house. There are all these mailing agencies. I have Mailbox Power, which I recommend. It's about $50 a month. It's like a CMA where it has your database, but you also can put, and I know we have KV Core where we work, but I like also using Mailbox Power. I can pop by and show, when I closed on his deal, I took a picture. I put him on a piece of popcorn. I sent that popcorn a month later. Congratulations on your deal. You closed.
What do you mean? You put it on.
So, with Mailbox Power for about $10, you pay a monthly fee, but it's like you can buy anything you want, brownies, cookies, popcorn. I took a picture of him closing.
Oh, I see, on like a microwave popcorn packet.
It was actually popped popcorn, but you can do that. That's cheaper. I just like it already popped because it's cuter. But I sent him a picture of himself with his closing. I took a picture and I want you to remember that day, not just me that day. I want you to remember me later.
Sure.
So I sent him the popcorn and I said, congratulations on your close 1 month anniversary. And I have it set up now. It's automatic. We as realtors cannot remember every date, right? But he sent me a message. It was June, 2 years later. Thanks for the caramels. Hey, my significant other wants some to send to somebody. I sent him another one. I actually said, it's because you're number one. No, really, you were number one. And I just jokingly sent it to him and he thanked me for it. But it's in my calendar every year. He's got to remember me. And that I think is really important for return business. So I leveraged him. I blasted all over the internet that I sold my first deal. No one needed to know it was the first deal, but I sold it because at the end of the day, how are you going to get your name out there if people don't know what you do, that you've done it? So I just kept leveraging and moved on to the next one. When I got my first listing, I obviously got to fight for listings, right? And you have to present what you're willing to present. And at this market, it was everybody wanted listings because they were selling really quickly. But I did not, because of the people I put around me and the people in the rooms that are with me, and I'm listening to people, I'm hearing, okay, don't just be lazy. Don't just sell that house. This is your opportunity to shine, to show the agent that you are, or show your clients and the people around you looking that you're a good agent, because I could easily sell your house just like the next person. But did I get professional pictures? Did I do an open house, even knowing that it's probably going to sell before, and that's when you turn it into a broker open or a agent or open house training, because we don't need another buyer, right? But we also still want your house because I want to leverage that. I want to go door to door and knock. Did I have to go door to door and knock and try to sell this house? I did not. But I always plug that because I feel like I know what I'm talking about, but I was new. And I just thought if I was going to be doing this, I'm going to do it this way because I want people to realize this is how hard I work. Leveraging those open houses, nosy neighbors. I want people, because you never know who wants to sell in your neighborhood, right? You want to meet them. I didn't want to look lazy, and I wanted the opportunity to meet as many people as I could, because you never know when your next listing is going to come off of something like that. So every time I got a deal, I always marketed it. I guess that's where I was really and no one meets me and doesn't know what I do for a living. I have every opportunity to ask certain questions talk to them about something, I will bring up real estate. And maybe that's annoying to some people, but it's worked for me, you know?
Right. So like, you're in line at the grocery store.
Absolutely.
You talk to people.
Listen, I'm wearing a name tag right now, and this is my little, I'll give you guys this is a little secret. It's upside down. Oh my gosh, this market is so crazy. Because someone's got to tell you, oh, by the way, your name tag's upside down. Oh my gosh, this market is so crazy. Have you seen it lately? Man, I can't keep a house on the market. It is an opportunity.
You do that on purpose.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Okay.
But it's an opportunity to talk to people. Yeah. And I think it was hard for me because I love to talk. It was hard for COVID because I did nails for 20 years. I have a relationship building. It's referral based anyways. What would I want? How would I want people to talk? You need to do good for people to recommend you, right? So that relationship building of just, I think naturally, I just like to talk to people. And I want you to remember me when we're done talking, so I will throw in stuff just for that. And I don't know, it just kind of worked out that way.
Yeah. So mailbox power, that's when so you put all your past clients in there and then they get things sent to them.
And there's ways around. I'm not great at it because I don't have, there's a million, it wants emails and wants anniversary dates and wants this, it wants your spouse's stuff because you can it makes you look good. But what I do is I make it an anniversary.
Can put my wife in there and automatically send her.
I can send your wife chocolate. I can.
Put me in there.
But the way I manipulated it is I close in June. All of my Junes get mailed out June. I don't care that I missed your anniversary date on June 18th. We closed. You're going to get it June 1st. It's going to say happy anniversary month because then it's a little bit more generic, but they still know I think about them, and I don't think about them. It's only been 2 years and I forgot that it had been 2-year anniversary for that poor guy. I hope he's not watching, but he thought I thought of him. Right. Do you see? That's what matters is put people in place, put AIs in place. I don't care. Don't forget about these people. They're going to be the ones that remember you a couple of years down the road.
Yeah, for sure.
It says my internet's unstable. Are we okay?
You're okay. It froze a little bit. Your voice kept going though. We're good. So now you also mentioned OpCity. Are you using OpCity today? Do you still use OpCity?
I am not. I am not using OpCity. It kind of went away. I did 15 deals with OpCity.
Oh, nice.
So that's quite a lot, right?
Yeah.
And I've actually I've had repeat clients for OpCity, and you do have to pay that referral fee again. But it's okay. You know what I mean? I get it. It's a business where referral fees are there, and you may not make the most money, but you just never know who you know, right? But guess what? She just bought a house. And you don't know. Don't ever stop those opportunities. Don't ever say, oh, I'm too good for that little bit of money, because you never know what's behind that little bit of money. And give me the opportunity and to just meet those people.
Right.
Yeah.
Any idea out of those first 42 deals that you did that year, any idea how many of those came from other deals? Like whether it was a referral or whether it was, like the open house, you knock on the door and, hey, we're thinking we're going to sell our house in 3 months too. Any idea?
About a third.
About a third of them?
About a third. It's all about networking. You know what I mean? How else are you going to get that? How else are you going to get your name out there unless they've seen you do something, right? Your parents don't want to, your family members, they're the hardest ones to sell because no one wants to trust you on your first couple of deals. Right. No one will use you. Like my parents would probably have not used me on my first couple of deals, let me sell your home. Yeah, right. I need to see you doing a couple before I put the trust in you, right? Yes. So just starting that and leveraging it, I'm on 2 years and I've already resold 2 of my clients' homes that I bought them 2 years ago. I was the seller or buyer's agent, and now I was the listing agent, and we've already closed. I already see the referral based business coming through from just working it.
Wow, already. That's unusual if they would sell that fast, but again,
military relocation. That's unfortunately that happens. That's pretty much our market. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, honestly, it makes me think also with this shift in just where things are going. I mean, there's always going to be those people that need to move. Whether it's military, whether it's a job transfer, whether it's, money is tight because they got laid off, whatever the economy being what it is, there's going to be different things that happen where people are just, they get in that situation and you want your name to be in front of them. So I think that's where, are you, other than the annual thing, the anniversary day, like, is there anything else that you're doing as far as keeping in touch with past clients? Anything else that you do?
So I had this great idea. I have to say, I'm not as good as I should be, but you only know as much as you know, and organization is not my key. I am not great at it,
Okay.
but I'm learning it is hard to keep up front. When you're starting out, and I did probably 3 or 4 day deals, June, July, I got to look at the numbers, but a couple, it was easy to show the picture of the popcorn and send it and put, all that stuff. I also didn't have a TC my first 5 transactions. So having those people or following up has been a hard thing for me because I did not expect to do the 42 my first year. I didn't expect to have 90 on Monday. Like, that's a lot of people to follow up with. And that's just my database that I have accrued. That's not 90 people are not people I know that are friends and family that aren't buying or selling. They're not, you know what I mean? The people in your database, right? Those people aren't in there. Those are 90 people that I just met randomly or, from everything and reselling. So just this week, 4th of July, I actually did my very first pop buy. I'm embarrassed to say it was my very first one. And I didn't make it through all of them. Because people moved away, so I wasn't going to pop by these people that I sold the house. Like, oh, by the way, you don't know me, but here you go. But I did it on one day, and I tried to, I don't know, maybe someone's got a better deal of this mapping to get to, the smart route for showing times, something like that. I need a better system to map it to where I can put all my addresses in and get there. But I ran out of time. I'm realizing it is important, to stop and pop by and it's been 2 years. They might move in 3. What's the average? 5 years, 7 years? I need to make sure they still remember me and not be too busy for them, So to answer, no, I am really bad at it, but I know I need to get better, especially in this market, because things are going to start changing and shifting, and we need to be better at that.
Right.
Yeah.
Anything else you can think of that you've done over the last couple of years in terms of just bringing in leads? You're talking to people, you're knocking on doors, you're doing the open houses. Yeah. You had some from Ob City. You're using mailbox power as far as keeping in touch. You've had a few repeat clients there. Anything that you can think of that you've done as far as just bringing in leads, in other ways that you've done?
I haven't. I tried Zillow. I paid a lot of money. I paid $1,800 a month for 6 months. I got 2 deals. And I split a deal with a friend. So it was actually not even a lot of money. Okay. It was a waste of money, in my opinion. So I've not paid for leads. I have Op City. Obviously you have to pay because you get so I have paid for that. Sure. But really just talking to people and building those relationships has only been my lead source. I guess you got to have, and they say how many people you have to talk to in order to make an appointment, right? I go to Home Depot and Lowe's and I will talk to people. I have no problem asking or talking and building relationships with anybody. Funny, the Home Depot guy lives behind me now. He didn't tell me he didn't mind talking to me about real estate, but he didn't tell me that his stepdaughter works at the builder, who actually is the builder I just bought. So it's funny that I'm like, hey, I've talked to you about real estate and now you're my neighbor, but I didn't sell you a house. But I didn't mind the opportunity, right? Yeah. So yeah, just actually grabbing those people when you can. I was the person that said, I'll do 1%, I'll admit to it. And I am still hurting myself on that. When you get started, because who's going to trust you? Let me sell my neighbor's house for 1% because at least it's a discount and I need to learn. That was my stupidity right there. Okay. 2 years into the deal, another neighbor wanted to sell their house. Well, I'd already said that I would do it for that. And I be careful what you say, because you definitely want to, keep your word. And I did, but it was don't just always throw yourself out there too, because sometimes you might promise something that's not the best for, the situation. Sure. But yeah, just kind of, and following up with the people that I met 2 years ago that said, oh, by the way, I'm in real estate. Do you want to sell your house? To make it a time to follow up. I'll jump in here about my follow-up too. I was driving down the street and I had a client that I had double-ended a deal. He was a renter. He bought the house he was renting, and I was the transaction broker on both sides, and he bought it for a great sweet deal. Well, he ended up going through a divorce. I'm not sure what's going on, if he was moving or not, but hey, I was driving by his house. I called him hey, just thinking about you, wanted to catch up. How's everything going? Just because I was driving by his house, and the very next day I got a referral from a guy who said, hey, so-and-so told me about you. I want to sell my house. And I just listed that guy's house. And it was the guy that I called the day before to catch up on. Was it just a coincidence? Would he have used me? Maybe not. But I was in the front of his mind at that time, kind of like our lenders, right? They always call you to make sure that you're the front of their mind. There's a reason why. They're all getting coached by people that say you want to be in front of people all the time, because when they're ready to make a decision, they may not know your name. They may not remember. Sometimes I'm looking on the internet and I'm like, I cannot remember that name. And you're like now doing that A, B, you're trying to like remember the name. But if you see their advertisements and their posts and everything, it's going to pop up and you're going to remember, oh, that's who I needed to talk to.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think so just talking to anybody and everybody, making sure they know that you're a realtor.
Yeah. I don't think you have to be the best in the market in order to get the clients. I don't. Yeah. I mean, I love what I do. I'm good at what I do. Do I have to sell 1,000 homes to represent you and only have done 20? No, I can do just as good as the 1,000 person. Yeah. Just be the person that they trust the most to put them to be able to sell their home for, ethically correct, do it the right way. Yeah. And people will learn to trust you.
Yeah. One of the things you mentioned too, and again, going back to the very beginning of this, and I remember this at the very beginning when you first started, you joined us and we saw you plugged in, we saw you around. And I think that's so key for people too. Even the seasoned agents, I mean, just to stay plugged, I've been doing this 20 years, to stay plugged in, to stay active, to continue to meet with other agents and mastermind together, 2 or 3 of you over a cup of coffee, and be talking about this. And I mean, just that whole thing, plugging in with the agents and getting that kind of, we can all learn from each other. And that's one of the great things I think about what we're doing here with these masterminds every Tuesday is just there's ideas thrown out. I've picked up things on these Tuesdays like, wow, I never thought of that. I've been in this business for 20 years. It's easy to almost kind of sit back and, well, let me be the one teaching everybody, whatever. But there's constantly change going on and new technology, new tools, new systems. I'm learning all the time.
I do love being I like to talk, but I like being the fly on the wall. We had a meeting today, our Monday and Friday meetings today, and we ended up, they were talking about this shift. We're in this shift now. What are we doing? We have listings that are staying. Do we drop the price? Do we do a concession? And I loved what I heard in the room. You put yourself in a room full of people that are going to teach you something, right? And I loved hearing someone like I had a listing and I lowered the price. I probably shouldn't have lowered the price. I'll be the first, you think, okay, at the end of the day, it's price, right? But if nothing's selling, is it really price? If nothing's moving, is it really the price? What is it? And we were talking about, doing like a seller concession. And do we say a price? Do we say a price? Or do we say willing to, what I learned, willing to consider a concession, but don't tell them how much because you never know. What if the buyer only needs $5K to buy down his loan and we were about to willing to get $10K? Let them tell us, right? And I learned that today. And I don't ever think I know it all. I'm always happy to learn, but man, it's good when you get some good gems of just being a fly on the wall in a place where you're, where people support you. And like, I love our masterminds that you do. Because where else do you get that for free? Just to learn and grow, right? With like-minded people that want to learn and grow with you.
Yeah, for sure. Can you think of some other things just coming out of that meeting today? And I don't know, you probably took notes and stuff. Just off the top of your head, what are some of the things that you walked away with? Like, wow, what a great idea with this shift.
Well, that was the big shift. We were talking about, because I expressed, because this is our meeting I've had for the last 2 years, and I expressed being the one on the wall and realizing that is why I never got lazy on listings because of this meeting, because I heard them. You are going to want to, this is the time where you show that you pay for photography. This is the time that you show that you do the open houses. So we talked about that today. Like, what are you guys doing? My girlfriend, Sunny, and I, we just went to visited other people at open houses this last weekend. We don't have any buyers. But we went because we still like our community and our real estate agents that are different brokerages. We don't care. We love the industry. We want to meet people, like-minded people. That's why I go to the masterminds, because I like to be around people that have the same interests in me, that we all talk about the same. I love shop talk, right? So Sunny and I went to 5 open houses last weekend, not the weekend before. No, the day before. Past weekend. Just because we didn't want them to be they aren't a part of us. They're just people, right? Just anything. We just wanted them not to have no one come to their open house. Hey, we're just here because we didn't want you to not have, because no one was going to open houses. And what a great time to actually get to know somebody in our market, in our industry, and pick their brain. And what I learned a good gym. Sorry, we didn't learn a lot in this mastermind.
No, it's good. No, you're doing good. Go ahead.
So what I learned, I had a listing and there was a lot of stuff in this listing that needed to go away, but you don't want to offend the seller. Like, oh, that's great, your grandma's antique, but we don't really need it here, right? Like, you try to be nice. Well, we walked into this open house and the lady, she had a broker open is why we went. Okay. And she said she invited her interior designer, and I met a new interior designer, the little stager lady. And she said, why you hire me is because I tell your sellers to get rid of their stuff without offending them. You don't have to make me the bad person and let me be the person. You see what I'm saying? So I didn't like that stuff, but she could tell them, get rid of it. And it made me, I was like, wow, you're worth money just to show up with me at that event, at that listing appointment, to say, this is also a person I'm leveraging when you hire me. Right. So basically to kind of make them tell them their opinion. So just put people in your corner that are going to make you look good. Right. Because I've got this little person in my pocket. The actual thing is, I just don't want your stuff in this house, but it sure makes me look good when I have this professional. Right. Mm-hmm. So that was a good little nugget I learned too.
That's really good. Definitely.
Yeah.
What else? I mean, for yourself, are you concerned at all going into the next 12 months?
We talked about that in this meeting today. It is our time.
And be honest about that. I mean, because there is, again, 2 years in and you've done very well. You can still a lot of leveraging you can do with those 90 past clients that you've got, whatever, to get more business and stuff. But what are your concerns going in, as we go into this shift?
I'm excited about it. I love to shine. I love to be the person. Choose me over them. I'll fight for it, right? Yeah. I think that I'm actually excited to have a buyer. I don't want to have a buyer and have to go look at 100 homes. I'm really not interested in that, right? Mm-hmm. But I love that they have an opportunity and people get to actually buy a house and we get to protect them more, because I feel like a lot of our protection and I only know a great market. I know an easy market because I got a buyer and we bought a house, or I got a seller and we sold a house. But now I'm on a listing side and I have to give a lot away, right? So that's not the best, but the buyers get to actually ask for what they deserve. I can see both sides. I bought in homes myself. I'm not saying I don't want to protect one or the other. Obviously that's my job to protect whoever I'm representing, but I can see my seller is paying $17,000 for a 2 bellies in a sewer. I'm not sure. I'm not really familiar with that. But anyways, it's going to cost him $17,000 to sell his house because something's wrong with this house, right? And in the market before, we would have just sold it and said, that's your problem, move on, But I can put myself in the buyer situation. And if I have a buyer like that, I'm excited that I can actually protect him and get stuff fixed, which should be fixed no matter what you look at it. No one wants to buy a house whose plumbing's going to fall apart. Now you've got all this thousands of work, but we were in a market where you couldn't ask for anything. I don't recommend it, but at the end of the day, if you did not, they have chose the cash buyer offer and you had these clients that couldn't get a deal. So I'm really glad. I actually am looking forward to things slowing down. I'm not scared about it because like you said, everybody has to buy and sell. It's just a matter of when, what time, what's good for them. And I guess now I get to stage a home and make it pretty and hope that mine's the prettiest on the market and everybody wants to buy it. Like at that point. And I also am glad that those buyers get to actually choose the house they want instead. So I'm actually happy that it's changing. So maybe people are scared, but it's still going to be, I still have to market. I still have to put myself out there. We still have to meet people. This isn't it. You just gonna have to fight for you're gonna have to interview a little bit more for your job.
Yeah. Well, we shared this last week for those that, were not on this, watching this here, or, they weren't on here last week. We shared about how I think, and again, something for you, like as the newer agents, you're going to we've got to learn how to have conversations with our clients. And a lot of, and again, like 20 years of doing this, I mean, whatever, we haven't had to have real conversations for the last several years because of this market, So you got to learn how to go in there and be able to talk to people, and show them the data, educate your clients, sellers and buyers, buyers on the rates, and there's different things that you can do, you can get concessions to help buy down the rate. A lot of times we're going to see that, some lenders that are coming up with different programs to help buyers, with this, and it's good to get to know your lenders and what they offer. With the sellers, you want to take the data in there so that it's not a time for the sellers to dig their heels in on a price, especially, if they haven't looked at this stuff. I mean, the days of, well, my neighbor just sold last month for 600,000, so let's list for 650. Those days are gone. You can't do that right now. You got to be able to walk in there though and have that conversation and show them the data of what's going on, show them the price drops, show them you can't go back 6 months and show them comps. Those comps don't hold up in this market right now,
And as a newbie, this is new for me.
Right.
I walked into that listing appointment with those comps, but little did we know it was May 1. What I'm learning is you don't know when the shift happens until the shift happens, right? Yeah. And May 1, when I'm bringing my presentation, because that's what you do, these are my comps because that's what you do. And you don't know that that's not the comp until you don't get an offer in 3 days and you realize something happened, and that's the conversation as a new agent I will have now. As a new agent, a year ago, I had a listing and we were at these 20,000 appraisal by, over appraisal. This is before we got crazy. This was actually just new start. No, you're to get over. And I promised him, not promised, but I said out of my mouth, yeah, you're most likely, you're going to get over. That's what it was, right? Little did I know the day that I listed his house, there's going to be 147 listings that day. You don't know what people are doing. You don't know what's going to be on the market. So don't promise the world, because then you look like, oh God, thank goodness it's sold, right? But we did not get over asking like we expected. And I did expect it because that's what the market was doing. So learn to not promise, same with that. I didn't know this is what you got to have some kind of comps, and those were the right comps. And there was nothing else I could do.
Sure.
Then we had the meeting, the talk of the meeting here, because at the time there was no listings. It was going to be 460 is the comp, right? Mm-hmm. Right before I listed, I saw there was 3 in the neighborhood. Listen, why don't we go for 50 because you do need to sell, and let's go ahead and do that. We did, and it still didn't sell because the market, the interest rates went up, the market went down. There was 30 houses now in the neighborhood. Those all change things, but that's also when you have to have a communication with that seller. You don't want to just list someone's house that's not very good at communicating. You got to teach that. Like, I will be calling you. We'll be talking. We're going to have, conversations all the time, because that's how you build their trust. And when he does call me concerned, hey, what's happening? Okay, well, don't wait for them to call you with concerns and say, well, let me pull up the comps. No, you have to be on top of your listing at all times. What's happening, because, well, this is what happened. Since we've listed your house, this many people have gone up, and this many people have not sold, and this many people have lowered. All of those things, all that knowledge makes you look like you know what you're talking about, right? And it also builds the confidence that they can trust you, because it's super easy to get fired right now too. How many people are probably, well, you told me you'd sell my house for 460, and now it's not selling. So what are you doing wrong, agent? Not what the market is. So educating the client on what the market is doing, right? That's number one. But we didn't have that meeting at the listing table. I never said, hey, just want to prepare you that we might have to lower your price, and your net sheet's going to be a lot lower, and you're going to have you're going to have to pay for $17,000 worth of repairs, because that was never in this market, but it happened so quickly. But I think I did what I needed to do to educate and like I apologize. It sucks. I'm going to be the first person to say, I'm so sorry that you're not making as much money. This is why, but also be empathetic towards them and say, this is why, this is what we're doing. I'm doing everything I can. I'm following up. I'm taking care of it all. You don't worry about it. Let's just get your house sold. And I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, for sure. That communication with the clients. And again, if you set that expectation right up front, we're going to be talking a lot. I'm going to be on this. Every day I'm going to be watching this. Every 4 or 5 days I'm probably going to call you. We're going to talk about this and showings and feedback, and we're going to be diving into this and have that. And then they'll work with you, and they probably won't fire you. But if they're having to call you because they haven't heard from you from 2 weeks, that's in this market, you might be getting the boot. I mean. You know what I mean? I think that communication has to be there. I've been telling everybody, this is a chance for a lot of realtors to become pros. The good agents will shine in this market. Now, the other thing too, is because a lot of the weaker agents are going to be leaving the market. That's just the truth of it. It happens with this stuff, whatever. Weaker agents are going to be leaving, which means that when you go in with buyers or sellers and try and get that business, you're going to be competing. Chances are, they are going to be interviewing, but you're going to be competing with stronger agents because the weaker agents are leaving the market. So you got to be ready for that. It'll make you better as an agent. Okay. Yeah. You'll grow as an agent if you handle that all the right way, and it is a time to grow and come out of this thing so much better and so much stronger, and that's what will happen for a lot of the agents. The good agents get better, they grow.
And I like that we're having that conversation, because we wouldn't be having this conversation, yes, communication, but I didn't really have to talk to my clients a lot because we got sold one day. It was like I saw you one time to list it, one time to sell it, and one time to close it, right? Like that is it. Yeah. And now, quick, look how fast. Now we're having it's amazing. Real estate's crazy. This is amazing stuff. This is why we're always talking. And it's like, what's the next shift? What's going to happen next? Like, it's weird to not have a crystal ball and to see it. And I'm just thinking, this is a lot of emotional stuff up and down all the time. And you've done it for 20 years. My goodness, this is rough. Yeah. It is a hard life to not know. Self-employed, I've always been self-employed. I was never worried about that. If you show up, you know what I mean? Yeah. I think you have to be that type of personality to show up and know you don't get a paycheck unless you work. There's a lot of people who maybe get in this industry that they don't know that you have to show up even if you don't get paid. You've got to show up in order to get paid, right? No one just hands you a check. Yeah. So I don't mind showing up and getting a paycheck, but it's like, but where am I showing up to? What is this? It's always changing all the time. And I feel like I've seen 3 things in the last 2 years, where a normal market, COVID, okay, that was a little up and down, but then we're like, where were these appraisal gaps? That was weird. And then where's the overbidding? That's weird. And then, 20 per house offers. That's weird. So I've seen a lot. And now no one coming in an open house, no one selling a house. Like there's probably been 5 or 6 different changes in the 2 years that I've been in it. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the things, and you mentioned, when I asked you about this shift, you said, you're excited about it. And I think here's the thing. I think that's the other thing I would tell people, like, here's a good nugget to take is just your mindset going through this. You'll get what you think you're going to get. If you think this is going to be the most challenging couple of years ahead of me, guess what? It will be the most challenging couple of years ahead of you. If you think, man, this is an opportunity to just go gangbusters in my business and take it to a whole nother level, then that's what you'll get also. I think mindset is so key going into this. And I'm seeing that, you scroll down social media right now with realtors, and it's like, I'm in a bunch of realtor groups, between, Instagram and Facebook, different things. And you're seeing a lot of people in there. It's like, oh my God, panic. It's like, you're going to get what you think you're going to get, Yeah. So, but again, now is that we're going to have to work it, and we should be working it. We get paid very well.
Yeah.
We get paid very well for what we do, but you're going to earn your money in this market, and again, we've all been earning our money the last couple of years. I mean, it's just, there's challenges no matter what. I mean, it's even on the listing side, when you got 12, 14 offers to dig your way through and all that stuff. I mean, it's tough on both sides but we've been earning our money. You're really going to earn it over these next few, months, a couple of years. I don't know how long this is going to go. None of us do, but the good agents will shine, whatever. And I think, that what you said right there, I'm excited about this. I mean, that is a great way to go into this, into this kind of market, well, you come out flying high.
Yeah. And I feel like I have a little bit to offer. I lost a house in 2008. I'm not saying we're in the same kind of market, but I can say I've been there. I bought 3 houses by the time I was 23, and I just closed on my 9th home, but I lost one in 2008. And I just feel like there is hope to give to people too. We don't know what this is happening. I don't know how many of those appraisal gaps. That's where I see this market. Like, I don't know, but how many people who paid this huge appraisal gap that took away all their savings, right? That now have electrical bills and water and trash and all the stuff, and they had 20 grand in the bank and their interest rate was pretty low, but they probably spent, my house payment might be 18, but I can pay 2,000 and I can get a bigger, better house with more square footage, more electricity, more, all of that extra, and I'm going to pay my 20 grand out of savings. How long will that last? Can you really afford it? I don't know, but I'll be there to help somebody who can't afford it, and I don't know if that's where it's going to go. People will still move and buy and sell, but I'm like, what our brains are, my teammate here, our wheels are turning. Like, what can we do to be in front of the market, to shine, to help, to grow? Like, that's what we do. Like, I think if you have more opportunities to shine in other ways, I don't just need to buy and sell. I also can help you here. Like, I think you're good at leveraging in it and spreading yourself out in different areas too. I don't want to just be a buyer's agent or just the listing agent, because in a market like this, it's unpredictable. You really do need both.
Yeah. For sure. Be a good listener. The clients, the buyers, the sellers, listen to them, empathize where they need that. Don't just come back to stuff. Well, I'm sorry. It is what it is. You know what I mean? You see realtors, you can have that mindset sometimes. It's just be a good listener. Listen to your clients. How can I help get them through this thing? How can I help them? Okay, the rates are higher. They can't afford to buy what they were going to buy. Think solution. Do I have a lender? Can my lender do something? Can we buy down the rate? Is there things we can do with that? But also just, I think be empathetic with that. Here's the plus side. There's a lot more, and we do have a little more leverage now as a buyer. And maybe you can't, the monthly payment, okay, maybe you can't afford this big a house. We have to come down a little bit here, but here's the positives of this also. But listen and empathize with that. On the seller side, same thing, whatever. It just, we can't come in there like a bull in a china shop and just, whatever, and be hardcore about this. I mean, you got to be, again, be a human being in that appointment,
right?
And listen to that.
And I had a listing that we listed, and with the comps, you're always changing. You never know I never give a value the day I show up to that listing appointment, because it could change tomorrow, and I don't want to be, and I don't want to also sell somebody, I'm going to list your house for highest dollar, and then I set them up for a disappointment when it doesn't, because some people are like, well, I'll give you everything just to get the job, just to hire me as a listing agent. But if they don't perform, then really, what did you do for them? So we had a little, I was listing a house and there was about a $25,000. It actually raised $25,000 because there was a pending, and I could raise the value. Now we have a comp. I'm not going to list a house without the comp, because then we've been dealing with tidewaters already. We're starting to see that. But I just want to express, this is what it's worth. This is what they were happy with, 400,000. And then because the comp went to 425, they're like, okay, we want to 425. But it's also having that conversation. Well, you were happy with 400. You're not selling right now. You have a $25,000 extra. Let's talk about really what, people maybe want it all, but where else in this market did you gain $100,000 equity in a year and a half to 2 years? I think that's a little outrageous. It took me 9 years to build up my equity in one of my houses to $100,000. Is it overinflated? And have that real talk. Like, listen, you might think because the neighbor sold theirs for that price, let's come bring our reality down a little bit. I understand and I hear what you're saying, but what is more important? Do you want to leave? Do you want a house payment? Do you need to leave? Some of these newer first-time home buyers that I see in the last 2 years that did get to sell your house and gain so much equity. Yeah. It's hard to say, no, your house is really not worth that much now. It's a hard one, but having that conversation.
Right. For sure. Well, good stuff. I really appreciate you getting on here. Is there anything else you can think of that you want to throw out? That just anything? I mean, 90 deals in 2 years. You've obviously done awesome. You're adjusting. Your mindset is phenomenal. You've plugged in to everybody, everything. That collaboration has been huge for you. Getting lots of support from a lot of different people, and which we all need. Don't be the secret agent in this market. Get out there, post some things on video, post things on YouTube and social media. Let people know that you're an agent, whatever, and that you're working hard, whatever, all that kind of stuff. What were we going to say?
What's crazy is yesterday I met with 2 managing brokers from 2 different places.
Okay.
Just to meet with them.
Sure.
And I'm not, don't limit yourself to the people that are just who get out there and get them to know you. Right. Because you want to build those relationships. And like I say, I don't stop talking about real estate to just people who might be buying and selling, but I also won't stop talking real estate to people that are in the industry. Yeah. So I just say just go out there and talk to people, be kind, volunteer. We're doing community events, give back if you can give back, and even if it's just a social and not even a giveaway, if you don't have the money, if you're starting out and you don't have, treats to give to everybody, just have a play date at a park. It is not that hard to be kind and just help build a community, because in that community, we just had a 4th of July event just at my little neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And I had sold a neighborhood house, and how many people came up and talked to me about real estate because they knew I was in real estate? Sure. You don't have to give them anything except a little bit of knowledge. Take 5 minutes to learn the market that you're in right now, today. How many listings are on? How many buys? How many under contracts? How many are lowering? Not that hard. Free information. Well, we pay for it, but it's free stuff of knowledge that you look better when you know that kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah. And don't be a secret agent for sure. Do not. Everyone knows. I mean, I should just have a shirt that says, around my forehead. But wear your name tag. Wear your name tag. Realtor. Yeah, yeah. Wear your name tag. It's not that hard to wear a name tag and people know your name. Yeah, for sure. I'll go to a coffee shop and I open up my laptop. I got, I got EXP on the back of my laptop, but people know I'm a realtor. I've had people come up to me like, hey, whatever, you're a real estate agent. Yeah, can I talk to you real quick? Whatever, quick questions, but be out there where the people are. My girlfriend, Sunny, has asked me about real estate on her laptop. Yeah. At the coffee shop. Hey, that's a welcome invitation. Go to the coffee shop, say hi to people, meet people, be nice to people, buy someone coffee. You just never know who you might talk to that'll be it. So yeah, I don't have a lot of stuff, but just don't stop talking. No, but it's nonstop nuggets in the last, 40, 45 minutes here. So I really appreciate you doing this, Kelley. I've been wanting to have you on here just because, and I know your schedule is tight, because I just knew there were things you could share that new agents can get a lot from, the 2-year-old agents can get a lot from, the 20-year-old agent can pick up a lot from it. Seriously. So we're never beyond learning and growing in this. So I really appreciate your time, and congratulations again. 90 deals in 2 years. I mean, seriously. It feels good. It's nice. It's crazy. I never thought that, right? Never thought it, but I'm very thankful for where I'm at, and I try to help others. So if anybody needs any help or any questions, I'm always willing to just ask me a question. I'm fine. Send me a message. I don't care. You've got a question and I can help you, or at least tell you where to go. Sure. That's what I like to do. For sure. For sure. Well, good deal. Well, Kelley, I appreciate your time. Okay. Thank you so much. Guys, we'll end the recording right here, but you guys can, we'll go into a little bit of a mastermind time to talk a little bit. And yeah, it's good stuff. So thank you so much. Okay. Bye. Okay.
Well, looks like we've concluded a recorded session. Everybody heard that okay? Yeah, it's good. Yeah, the first thing I'm looking at, for some reason, Jackie Brown is right in front of me, and she's got this huge smile. So she must have gotten something out of it. We're excited to have you, Jack.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Yeah, it's awesome. I do want to say one of the things I wrote in the middle of this, first of all, awesome information. We want to thank, of course, both of them for setting that up. I would highly recommend you take advantage of Kelley. If she said, reach out to me, this is when you're supposed to reach out to people. It's really interesting. People say, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And someone says, I offer you to call me. And people go, oh, I don't know if I should call. Isn't that crazy? I mean, it's like someone's going to find out that I don't know something. Really? Really? Some of you have forgotten what it's like to be in a buyer's market. And I want to tell you a statistic based on the fact that they were talking about it. And I was talking to a broker yesterday, big broker, looks like he's coming on board with us in the next couple of months. That's awesome news for those that are part of that group. But here's what he said to me. In the five areas, okay, the MLS, the counties that Orlando covers, right? So if you look at the MLS covers Orlando and Tampa, there's 5 main counties. And here were the numbers. Over the last couple of years, they've been hovering in those 5 counties, somewhere between 12 and 1,800 properties available. 12 to 1,800. Well, 3 weeks ago, he looked and it was back to 1,800. Normally, it was 12 to 1,400 during most of the last 2 years. It was 1,800. Last week, it was 4,500 houses for sale. This week, 9,000 houses for sale. So we went from 2 years of under 2,000, and in 2 weeks, we've now gone to 9,000 houses. So the Orlando Tampa market has, in 2 weeks, they call that a fortnight over in Europe. In 2 weeks, we've become a buyer's market. Now, are we going to stay a buyer's market? I don't know. But we know it's a softening market. And if you're not in classes like the one we just had, if you're not in classes like the one next Tuesday, if you don't take advantage of this free information, then it's worthless to you. You don't need a lot of nuggets out of what Kelly and Jeff just talked about to make the hour worthwhile. All you need is one nugget, and that nugget needs to be lodged somewhere, either this way down your throat, this way into your brain, or that way up your rear to get you moving, right? In order to get moving. So we're going to spend the last couple of minutes, just anybody have something they want to share. I don't want to, don't anybody forget, next Wednesday, live, hot, 20 questions with Brent Gove. Wednesday, don't forget. And also don't forget the new concierge hour at 2 o'clock Eastern, 11 o'clock Pacific on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Just come in, same link, meet Kim and tell her what your needs are. She's great at satisfying those. So anybody have a final comment about anything that was covered today? Anybody?
I just wanted to throw it. I love I heard this a couple of years ago, that whole name tag wearing it upside down. Heard that a few years ago and totally forgot, but what just a genius little nugget that you would think that could lead to multiple dialogues in the next 12 months if you just wore that upside down every day.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome. The mailbox power, I know there's probably other companies or apps or whatever you can use. I thought that was very interesting because I'm kind of like her also. It's a challenge for me to stay organized, but to have different companies where you can just put the information one time and it's kind of on autopilot, and then you go out of your way to maybe reach out every few months. But anyway, you mind me asking, other than mailbox power, is there anything else that somebody else is using that's similar to that you use to automate follow-up with your clients and gifts being delivered and that kind of thing? Anything else anybody's using?
For those of you that are not using listings to leads, L2L, it's a phenomenal service to attract leads. It's not overly expensive, and it is fairly simple to figure out, and it does work to the front end of KV Core. So L2L is another option. Brandy, go ahead.
I use personal marketing assistant, I believe it's called. I pay $25 per closing, and it follows up with them for 5 years via sending them postcards, and it sends them a branded magazine from me once a year.
And you think it's called personal marketing assistant? Does that sound
I'll
right?
find it and add it in the chat.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything to ask? Anything, another comment?
Another comment, Eric, the thing that stood out to me is kind of what you just commented on and what's taken place in just the last 2 weeks. And she sort of said the same thing in her market, that had she just relied on 30 days earlier, the comps, she'd have been way off target. So literally, it's almost like on a week by week basis, staying up to speed with what's going on in your market and being educated to at least be able to drop those nuggets in just everyday casual conversations.
With a great point, Sean. Let me close out with a 1 minute thought. I think it's a perfect thought for what we're going to talk about. We're in the summer where most people talk about taking the time off. we're in a shifting market where most agents are going to take the time off. Now, you want competitive advantage? Now's the time to do the heavy lifting. When no one else is mucking up your energy, when no one else is really working hard to figure it out, there are experts that are figuring it out. And there are people like us that'll learn from these experts, find out who they are. This is part of them, right? Get in their masterminds. But if they're not talking about the shifting market, then they're only talking about old information. We don't need to know what the market is doing today. All we need to know is trends. And we know the market is softening. And we know that listings will become more prevalent. They already are. We already know pricing will need to be adjusted. It already is. So get involved in the conversations, not about where people think the market is going, but we all know where it's going. What do we do when it's going in that direction? It's a different conversation, and it's one that'll produce income for you today. We don't need to be experts on the market. We need to be experts on what to do as the market is shifting. I'll leave you with that. Don't forget, Brent Gove next Wednesday and more transactions next Tuesday. Everybody have a great week.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.